And we continue at 1:05 in the afternoon on the John Phillips Show. Mr. Randy Wang has the day off. He'll be back with us next week. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. I know a lot of people are waiting on hold. They want to weigh in on the topic of what would you do if you were in the women's locker room and a biological male was exposing themselves to you. And we know that one woman in Los Angeles didn't like it, complained about it. The gym revoked her membership. We'll allow you to weigh in on that later on in the hour. So if you're on hold, stay there. We'll get to you, I promise. Right now, we're pleased to be joined by the Professor of Political Science Emeritus at California State University at Fullerton, Professor Barbara Stone. Welcome.
Happy almost Turkey Day, John.
Happy Thanksgiving to you as well. You know, this topic is one of these topics that really tests the limits, I think, of a one-party state, where I don't know if you heard the callers, which were primarily female, they really don't react well to this. When you have a man who goes into a space that's supposed to be safe, biological male, exposes themselves to the women do not want to see it, and then they get punished when they complain about it. Since the beginning of time, any man who exposes himself to a woman who doesn't want to see it is universally regarded as a pervert. And now we have to reprogram our minds to fit in with woke society to teach ourselves that, oh no, it's perfectly permissible, and if you have a problem with it, you're the one that needs an attitude adjustment, not them. It seems like these are the types of positions on issues that you can take when you feel like you're bulletproof. But if there is a competitive election anywhere on the horizon, this is not a good look.
Well, of course, the key is your thing, if there's a competitive election. In this state, we need to find a few of those to make it work, right? But as a female person here, I actually have thought about this a bit. And like your listeners, you ask, what would happen if that happened to me? I honestly don't know because it hasn't. I will admit, John, that the kind of guy who's walking into a woman's locker room, flapping around that part of his anatomy, is probably not the most beautiful thing on earth. And I would hope I would have the presence of mind to laugh at him. Well, think about it. Why are you doing that? Let's assume for the moment that you are one of what's a very small number, actually, of people who are legitimately trans, in that you have some foul up in your DNA. Somehow or another, something isn't related to something. It's not just in your head. It's actually in your body someplace. That's a very small number. I would assume that such people, if they really felt, and I could understand, compelled to use a woman's locker room, cover it up. Or, even better, chop it off. And, you know, if that's what you're aiming for. But if you're some guy who's going, oh, I feel like a woman today, flap, 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 flap. Okay, wonderful, but you're a pathetic human being. And at least my thought, without being in the position, because I never have been, would be to go to let you know I thought that. Then, of course, when you attack me, we'd call the cops, but that's a different topic. Anyhow, that's what are you going to do?
Well, and then when you learn the history of this person, it's even creepier because he was married to a woman and then got in trouble for beating her up, and then moved from one state to California, and then claimed to be a woman and assumed her identity, took the name and everything.
This is a sick human being, by the way. This is a sick human being with, I'm sounding like Madam Psychiatrist here, but with serious criminal tendencies. And except we don't lock anybody up here, that person should be undergoing serious psychiatric evaluation. I was going to say it needs help, but it doesn't want help. We just need to be protected from it. So he might not take well to my laughing at his little thing. Oh, well, what are we going to do?
All right. Well, let's get to some other news here in California because we now have two more candidates running for governor, including the billionaire Tom Steyer and Eric Swalwell, the congressman from the Bay Area, the East Bay Area to be exact. As soon as he announced, Steve Klubeck, who is another Democratic candidate running for governor, who apparently had Frank Luntz and Mike Madrid running his campaign, which means there had to be a lot of money involved. He has now dropped out, and he is endorsing Eric Swalwell. He said that Eric Swalwell is the man with the plan. What do you make of these two candidates and their entrance into the race?
That we in California are in deep, deep trouble. That given what we are as a state, that the whole field running for governor, there is nobody who should be in any such position, either because of accomplishments, access to money, anything you can think of. It is truly, truly sad that that's where we are. Look at both names you just came up with, which is Eric Swalwell and Tom Steyer. You realize both those guys have run for president. For whatever reason, they see these things as obviously ego builders. It's almost beyond me to imagine why. Except that, have I mentioned, I dare you to go out on the streets and ask, hey, who do you know of who's running for governor? And normal people will have a very difficult time coming up with a name. So I guess I take them, at least Steyer has money. Although, did you actually see those ads he ran for Prop 50 against Trump?
They were awful.
Deranged. They were one awful and two deranged. You just go, I don't know what's going on here, but if that's his idea of getting attention and maybe he can become governor on that, good luck. And Swalwell, isn't he the one who had the Chinese spy girlfriend?
Oh, yes. Well, girlfriend is being charitable. I don't know if she was the girlfriend or just
whatever
a wham, thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. But and somehow he doesn't think that matters. Of course, the fact I'm not at all sure he lives in the state of California. That hurts. But it just tells you that nobody on the Democratic side thinks anybody else on the Democratic side is a halfway viable candidate for governor, and we have an election next year. Heaven help us.
Yesterday, I had former Governor Gray Davis on, and I talked about his time as governor and his time as a candidate, where he came into the race for governor as someone who was an assemblyman, who was a controller, who was a lieutenant governor, and then he reminded me he was also Jerry Brown's chief of staff. But he was someone who had spent his entire career in state politics and understood the issues, read a lot about the issues, thought a lot about the issues, felt that he had something to contribute to those issues, but really was motivated by state issues, not by federal issues. And it seems like all of these candidates in the race are motivated exclusively by federal issues, and they haven't spent any time at all thinking about the insurance crisis or what to do about the bullet train or fire mitigation or the budget or any of the issues that they would have on their plate as governor of California. And his answer essentially was, they're all consumed by Trump right now. That is what they care about. That is what they're thinking about. And that is it.
The only place I would disagree with that is you say that's what they care about. Honey, they don't care about squat. It's what they think will advance their candidacies to wherever it is they want to go. So they see Trump as their vehicle, not something they even really care about, because he's not going to be there that much longer for somebody running for governor. Otherwise, generally, I think Gray's probably got it pretty right. It's funny, because in his day, I did not think terribly highly of Gray. Gray, both his name and the personality he projected went together pretty well. But having said that, compared to this crowd, my goodness, you got to be kidding. He's quite something. Now, well, never mind. We'll get there. The thing is, it's not just on the Democrat side. Find me the Republican who can go out there and say, I'm focused on state issues. Actually, probably the sheriff does, just because he can run on law and order, but it's like in California, well, we're one-party state, and that it really, really doesn't matter, because after all we have to do is hate Donald Trump. That's pathetic.
What does it tell you that more candidates keep jumping into this race, and no one seems to be giving Antonio Villaraigosa or Javier Becerra or Betty Yee a second look?
Well, actually, what it tells me, and I don't even know if this is true, but my immediate reaction is none of them are polling particularly well, so there's plenty of room for me, is what these people are thinking. Bless his heart, Antonio Villaraigosa, as mayors of Los Angeles go, was not that horrible, but he was a long, long time ago, and I believed, wasn't he at war with the teachers' unions?
So he was. That's who came out against him when he ran for governor against Gavin.
Right. And if that's where it was going to be by now, everybody's forgotten who he was. Betty Yee, who's that? You know? And my understanding of her record is she is much better off if nobody looks at it very carefully. You've seen the polling, and I seriously doubt private polling's any different, that none of these people poll within hailing distance of the governorship. So all these people come in and go, why not me? Well, the why not me, and this is going to explain one of the people, the why not me is, where are you going to get the money for this, buddy, because you aren't polling decently either. To which a Tom Steyer goes, hey, me, I have the money. And I have no idea what the others do.
What about Katie Porter? Because she was leading the pack for a long time. And then she had a couple of real rough news cycles and then just disappeared from the scene for a while. And then only came back to put up a video that was profane of her swearing at Tom Steyer, which I don't know how that helps her come across as a nice person, which is what she needs to do right now after all those videos.
John, clearly she doesn't see it that way, does she? She's being, somewhere in her mind, she must go, the image is, I'm a powerful woman, I'm a fighter, I don't know what, because she's just consistent across that, even after she already messed up badly enough. To go slowly, she was polling decently because people had heard of her, because she had just run for the Senate. And she finished behind Steve Garvey, but she was in it enough that a reasonable number of Democrats, I suspect, paid attention and recognized her name. And you're going to have a group that would look for a woman, too. And so she had more recognition than the rest of these people. And therefore, people paid a little attention to her, and she blew it. She absolutely, totally blew it. And I don't see where she recovers, although have I mentioned recently that the field is extraordinarily weak. So you never know. But she does need to sort of do something about her likability index.
We started off the conversation talking about Thanksgiving. So people are in the grocery store now, even people that don't typically go on a regular basis, and they're being shocked at the sticker price of all the food. the cost of the turkey, the cost of the vegetables, the cost of the pies, all of that. When you look at Donald Trump's polling numbers right now, his numbers are not where he would like them to be. I believe the number one issue that's hurting him is the cost of living. That certainly was an issue that hurt both Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, but they're no longer in charge. Donald Trump is in charge right now. If he can't figure out how to get prices down by the midterm elections, how much trouble are the Republicans in?
And it has to be in advance of the midterms by enough so that people register a change. John, and I thoroughly believe what I'm about to say to you. I may turn out to be wrong. We all are spending a lot of time fussing and suing and doing this, that, or the other over a couple of congressional seats in California, a couple of congressional seats in Texas. If this doesn't turn around, a couple of seats here and there are going to be absolutely irrelevant. You're going to see a very, very ugly result for Republicans. I think you hit on the underlying thing, and it's something we've known forever. People have many opinions on many things, but they tend, at least swing voters certainly, to vote their pocketbooks. And when Joe Biden kept telling them, oh, you have it so good, inflation's under control, they looked at their receipt from bonds and went, that's not what I see. I'm going to believe my lying eyes, and inflation is up. President Trump ran on that as one of his big issues. And the problem for him coming out of that is people expected him to do something about it. If you listen carefully, what the administration says is that inflation's not going up as fast. No, boys and girls, it's not a matter of not going up as fast. You were expected to bring it down. And John, I'll be honest, some of this, I don't know how you turn around. Let's use a big item. Aluminum and steel tariffs have been there basically since he came into office. You go try buying a new car. Not everyone has to have a new car, but I looked at some the other day and went, you got to be kidding me. On the grocery end, it was getting, remember when Joe Biden was in the White House and the price of eggs was getting higher and higher and higher, and you went, oh my heavens, Joe Biden did that. Okay, fine, but you've got to bring them down, and that hasn't happened. And it's going to be tough. I noticed that the administration has picked up the terminology affordability, which, by the way, is a big trend on the left. It was there before these elections. But affordability, fine, you can say it till the cows come home. But you have to have people do what you just said, which is look at their bill and go, yeah, finally eggs are below whatever. I don't buy them anymore. And I don't see where there are plans for that. I sincerely hope I'm wrong.
I don't know about you, but in recent months, for the first time in my own social network, I've heard people expressing fear about AI and what that's going to do to their industry and what that's going to do to the number of jobs in their industry. And we've seen the job numbers. This most recent one was pretty good for them, but we've seen those numbers soften up over time. How big of a problem do you think that's going to be for him?
Well, it's a problem to the extent that people think presidents are responsible for everything. So as people get worried about things, then it's a problem. I might be completely wrong, but I think that, believe it or not, quite a bit can be done here if, in fact, you within the administration develop a consistent approach that can be said briefly and that normal people can understand. Now, I'm normal where AI is concerned because I don't understand squat about it. But whereas my grandson, who's all into this stuff, is all excited. He thinks it's just great and wonderful and a tool he can use. And basically, you have to tell people, hey, while things change, like we went from horse and buggies to cars, these things can be great assistance to you in moving the economy and everything forward, and we're going to be there looking out for you. But you have to have a consistent message. You get the idea.
We're out of time. Have a very happy Thanksgiving. Thanks so much for stopping by.
Okay, John. Bye-bye.
It's the John Phillips Show. It's the John Phillips Show. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number. 1-800-222-5222. If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And if you'd like to listen to us over the holidays when we're not making new episodes like on Thanksgiving or the day after Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, you get the idea. You can do so by subscribing to the podcast edition of this program. All the episodes will be downloaded automatically to your phone. And whenever you have a hankering to listen to myself and Randy, that's easy to do. All you have to do is whip out your handy-dandy iPhone, press play, and you are off to the races. All right, we're taking your calls at 800-222-5222, 1-800-222-5222. A biological male exposed himself in the women's locker room at a Gold's Gym on La Cienega Boulevard in Los Angeles. One of the women in the locker room didn't like what she saw. She complained about it to management. She complained about it on social media. Her membership to the gym was revoked. She's the one being punished for what happened. If you were in her position, if that was you inside the locker room, how would you have handled it? 800-222-5222, 1-800-222-5222. Let's go back to the phones and welcome John in Napa. John, hello.
Yeah, hi. It was a few years ago. My girlfriend and I went down to San Francisco to the Palace of Fine Arts to see a concert. And, of course, you end up having to go to the restroom, and especially during the break. And after the show, you had a couple beers. So anyway, I went down to the lobby area to use the restroom. It was packed with people. And the doors of the restrooms all had the female figure on it and the male figure. So fathers were forced to take their children into these bathrooms where men were using the urinals, and women were forced to go into these bathrooms where men were using the urinals. And I mentioned something to somebody behind the vending counter, and they looked at me like I was a complete idiot. I said, what is wrong with this place? And I forgot. I was in evil San Francisco. So I guess it's an acceptable way of life down there. But I couldn't believe the children being taken by the hand. They had to go to the restroom, and they had to see these guys in there doing their thing. And it was gross, but that's San Francisco. San Francisco. But it's an evil area down there, and that's the last time we went to the city, and we used to like to go down there all the time, and we just have no desire to go to that stinking city anymore. And the Palace of Fine Arts is a beautiful area, but it's been blemished.
Well, I can tell you this. I've only been to one venue where I've seen that before, and that was, no joke, in Philadelphia at whatever they're calling that arena there. It's not the Spectrum anymore, but whatever they're calling that arena. And I was there to cover the Democratic National Convention when I was working at CNN, and I was doing the radio show from there as well. And they took all of the restrooms in that arena and they turned them into all-gender restrooms. So you had women lining up at the stalls wanting to go to the bathroom next to a row of urinals where guys were up there doing their business at the urinals, all in one confined space. And I think it was an eye-opener for a lot of the women there who probably saw themselves as enlightened and progressive and accepting of something like this. Men are pigs in the bathroom, and I don't know if women are aware of this. But you allow men into a restroom, and we are one step above the homeless. I don't know why that's the case, but those bathrooms were filthy. as you would expect at a hockey arena when you have a bunch of guys going to the bathroom after drinking all day and blowing a point two, which is what you do at those conventions. And you could see the looks on their faces. No one said anything because in that environment, you're definitely not supposed to. But you could see the look on their faces as they would exit the restroom. Oh my God, I'm going to hold it until I get to the hotel later tonight. I am not putting myself through that again.
Yeah. No, it's disgusting. And I'm really sad about it because we used to like to go to the city, but not anymore. No more.
All right. Thank you for the call,
Thank you,
sir.
sir.
Let's go to Claudia in San Rafael. Claudia, hello.
Hey, John. Thanks for taking my call. Love the show.
Thank you.
So I am a woman, and I'm very familiar with Scott Wiener. I grew up in the city, so the guy's a creep. He's got to stay out of politics. But my issue is, why are we continuing, not me, but why are people continuing to call these men transgender women? They're not women. It's insulting to women if we call them transgender women. They are men who pretend to be women. And it's a very small majority who've had the whole surgery done. Even at that, we still cannot call them women. It's insulting to us. So let's call them trans. Do you remember when we used to call them transvestites?
That was a thing back in the day. I remember that, yeah.
Yeah, and now, so, it's a lot of it is about language. Language is powerful. So when women like me keep hearing, oh, well, he is a trans woman, no, you have never feared walking down an alley because you're a trans woman. You've never feared cervical cancer or uterine cancer. It's not the same. They can have all the surgery in the world. Let's call them what they are. They are men impersonating women.
Well, in this particular case, I'm not even sure if I buy into whether or not this individual actually even thinks that they're a woman. I think this is a sicko who was looking to expose himself to a room full of women, and I think that was the motivation. I think that was the thrill. Sure. I think that was the desired result. And the fact that he got a reaction, I'm sure, made this person the happiest person on planet Earth.
Sure, totally. I don't think he was trying to impersonate a woman either. But under California law, because I work in California and I have to do all the training, it says very clearly if you identify as a certain sex on a certain day, you have to be treated in that way. And that's why Gold's Gym says, well, sorry, it's the law. So it sucks. Like, we're in upside down clown world in California because I feel like a woman. Okay, well, then I feel like a kangaroo. I feel like a cat. Really? Is that where we're going with this? Seriously.
Well, and here's something else that's insulting. This guy was accused, credibly, of being physically violent with his ex-wife. This guy was accused of assault, and it was adjudicated, and he did it. And then he moves to a different state as someone who's abused women physically in the past and assumes the same person's, the victim's identity in the new state. And suddenly, I'm not just a woman, but I've become my ex-wife. And then they go into a place that's supposed to be a safe place where women are in various states of undress. And they're told that they need to keep quiet about it when this violent person who is exposing himself to them unwanted is in their space and within close proximity to them. That is about as insulting as it gets.
Insulting, and more insulting is, where are the feminists? Where are the true feminists? If you call yourself a true feminist, why are you not outspoken about this? Where are you? Some people say this is part of the reason this is happening is because of the feminists, that the feminists encourage this kind of thing. How? I don't get it. How can you be a feminist and not speak out? Where is the outrage? Where are the parades? Where are the protests? Where are you, feminists? I'd love to hear from you.
Well, and here's the other thing, too. I mean, we've been talking about this in the context of grown women because that's who made the complaint in this particular incident. But if you're talking about gyms, it's not just grown women who are in there. Little girls also use those facilities because they have, they go in there and they exercise with their parents, or there are classes even that some gyms offer that are geared towards children under the age of 18. Under what In what world is it appropriate for someone who is a biological male to expose themselves to a young girl, and that's okay?
Correct. Well, right now it's in the California world. Yeah.
And just
Thank
like
you.
with the last caller or a couple calls ago, if you're the one that complains about it and you're loud enough, you face the social punishment. You could lose your job.
Exactly.
You could certainly lose friends over it. You could get kicked off of social media platforms. There's a cost to speaking out.
Absolutely. They flip it on its head, so you are the victim, and they make you think you're crazy because of the language, right? It's all conditioning. And, you're not woke, you're not sensitive, you're not compassionate. What they're not thinking about is the woman's point. What about the respect for the woman? Like we're erasing women. Oh, you have no compassion for transgender. Well, you have no compassion for women. So, come on. Thank you for exposing this. It's super annoying, frustrating, and I thank you that you're continuing to talk about it. I appreciate you.
Well, thank you so much for the call. I appreciate it. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number. 1-800-222-5222. More of your calls coming up right here on The John Phillips Show. It's The John Phillips Show. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number. 1-800-222-5222. Let's go right back to the phones and welcome Brian in San Leandro. Brian, hello.
How you doing, John?
Good.
Where's the men in this gym? They need to protect these women.
Well, I think part of the point is there's no men around because it's a place that's meant only for women, and they were there on their own.
Got it. It's a sad situation.
All right. Thank you for the call, sir. Let's go to Eric. Eric, hello.
Hi, John. Thanks for taking my call. Appreciate it. So I have no idea what it'd be like to be a woman and to be in that situation, and some fake woman walks in, flashing to Frank some beans. I don't have the plumbing to be able to understand that, but I do know if that was my wife or my sister, the fake woman would be tossed out. I know what the law is. I don't care. That's completely wrong. This is someone who is in a location they should not be, and I care for a woman's safety. I care for their comfort and their ability to do what they want without being harassed. I know if I owned that Gold's Gym right there, that guy would be banned, and the woman who did the complaining, I would come in and I would give her a 1 year's membership for sure, and I just don't tolerate it. I think Gold's Gym, they've been doing too many steroids, and they're shrunking their cojones a bit. I mean, it is absolutely not right. I mean, this is what it takes. I mean, the previous caller was kind of getting to the point. Where are the men? The men need to step up. The women need to step up too. You know, I mean, if I have to, okay, give me a wig. I'll identify as a female WWE wrestler and go 3 rounds with this douche.
All right. Thank you for the call, sir. Let's go to Janice in Inglewood. Janice, hello.
Hello, John. Listen, I was trying to get a good definition of transgender, and it sounds like more of a mental definition than a physical, because physical, if you were not born with equipment for a man or equipment for a woman, then you're still a male. But mentally, you can think whatever you want to think. You're a horse, you're a goat, you're whatever you want to be. So I think it's more of a mental until you fully transform to whatever sex you want to be. Could you give a clear definition of what transgender really is?
Oh boy, you're going to the wrong person for that.
Because it sounds more like it's something mental that you
Yeah.
think.
Yeah, no, I think,
No.
and I'm just going based off what I've heard, but if
Uh-huh.
I understand their argument, they say that it's in their head and they don't have to go to the chop shop to be the opposite sex. That if in their mind they're the opposite sex, then it doesn't matter how they present publicly, that's what they are.
Okay, I'll go along with that because you can be whatever you want to be. But when the government or the laws say that you have to respect whatever they say, I don't go along with that.
Here's where I think most people are. Most people are very live and let live. You're on the planet a short
Yes.
period of time, knock yourself out and be happy. And if you think that you were born in the wrong body and that you identify with the other sex, go ahead. Do that if that's what makes you happy and that's what will allow you to live a peaceful life. However,
Okay.
don't expect me to think that men can get pregnant. That's not part of the deal that I'm willing to sign up for. And don't expect me
That's
to
right.
think that it's okay if you're going to expose yourself and the sex organs of the opposite gender to people who don't want to see it in what should be a safe space. That is one bridge too far for most people.
Then, and I'm one of most people. I'm not going to accept it. Thank you, John. Good show. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for the call. Let's go to Sal in West Hollywood. Sal, hello.
Hey, John, great show. You just made a great point. You made my point because what's happened is the narrative has changed. Most normal people are going to look at this as insanity, which it is. But because we haven't been paying attention when it comes election time, and we let George Soros and the Open Society Foundation bring these people in like, who was it, Gascon and the Bonta and all these people, nobody's paying attention. All of a sudden, throughout the United States, we've got these politicians coming in, Los Angeles, West Hollywood, City Council, all communist ideology. By the way, just a reminder, Yuri Bezmenov, if you want to look him up on Google, Yuri Bezmenov 1984 interview talked about this, about how it's all changed and we're seeing it. This is about propaganda, changing the vocabulary, changing the whole conversation to where now people the law says that you can't arrest these people. In your grandmother's day, as you mentioned earlier, if that were to happen, this guy would get his head cracked open. So there's no ifs, ands, or buts. I mean, that just was not allowed. Morally, it was not acceptable. Now, because of the conversation, because of the elected officials, you have to respect the rights of anybody who says they can do this or that, harassment. If you defend yourself, now you're the perpetrator instead of the victim. So everything's got turned upside down. So, we have to get, as a society, we have to pay more attention to getting elected officials, get these knuckleheads out, stand up, as your other callers have mentioned, stand up to these people and say, this is not right, and you're not going to stand for it. It's going to come to a point where we're going to have to all stand up as a community, as a grassroots movement, and say enough of this. Otherwise, we're going to be victims.
Well, we hear all about bullying. Bullying is a word that gets thrown around a lot. We have all these anti-bullying campaigns. We're all supposed to try to be better citizens and make sure that we stop bullying whenever we see it happening in front of us. Well, this is bullying on the part of woke society against the women, where the women do not want to look at the genitals of the opposite sex. And society is bullying them and saying, yeah, you're going to look at it and you're going to like it and you're going to shut up about it. How is that not bullying?
Perfect example. Some guy in Oregon was out with his girlfriend. This guy comes in because he happened to be black, was hitting on the girl. He said, hey, look, it's my girl, leave her alone. He wouldn't stop. He continued. Carried it outside. The guy, after repeatedly asking him to stop, wouldn't do it. The perpetrator started hitting the guy, the fiance, the boyfriend. Started hitting the guy. The guy said, hey, listen, I got a concealed carry weapon. And he pulled out the gun. He said, back off. The guy still wouldn't do it, and he continued. He hit him again. The guy fired a round and took him out. So now this guy's in jail doing time for defending himself and his girlfriend from attack. who's right and who's wrong, morally speaking. So this is where we are in society, and it's, sadly, these are things that are happening because we have elected officials who won't take responsibility and do the right thing and let the cops do their job.
All right. Thank you for the call, sir. We're out of time this hour. If you're on hold, stay there. We'll get to more calls next hour, and we're going to check in with former Florida Congressman Mark Foley as well. This is the John Phillips Show.